Assalamu alaikum. Good morning to one and all. Myself, Muhammad Yusuf, head of the Department Electrical and Electronic Engineering. On the behalf of Halim Muhammad Salik Polytechnic College, I extend a warm welcome to our speaker and all of you who joined here to the Faculty Development Program for Tools to Enhance Learning and Teaching in webinar on day 2. First of all, I heartily thank our institution to provide this wonderful opportunity for our faculties and employees to enhance our skills in learning and teaching at this lockdown situation. Today, our topic is recent trends in DC to DC power converters. The biggest advantage of DC electricity is that it is easier to store than AC electricity. Nowadays, we all know that DC electricity are used extensively for deserved application in healthcare, communication, measurements, instrumentation, and automobile industries. So, with this purpose, we organized a webinar session. And it is a great honor for me to introduce and welcome our speaker this morning. He is working as Associate Professor in Dr. NGP Institute of Technology, Coimbatore. His research interests include classic control design for DC to DC converters, loop converters, resonant converters, power quality, modeling of power converters, high power factor converters, multi-level converters, and inverters. He has authored more than 60 papers published in national and international conference proceeding and professional journals. Today, we are privileged to frame an opportunity to listen to him this morning. On behalf of all gathered here, I welcome to this webinar an active member of the IEEE Power Electronics Society, Dr. K. Ramesh Kumar sir.
Yeah, okay. So, thank you. Very good morning to all of you. First, I would like to thank entire team of this STP for choosing me as a resource person. So once again, I thanks to whole team. We start the session directly. Today, I'm going to share about recent trends in DC-DC power converters. Before start of this topic, first you should know what is the DC-DC converters. It converts the fixed DC voltage into variable DC voltage. We can call it as a DC-DC converters. As per the power electronics subject concern, most of the faculty members knows about the fundamental DC-DC converters like Bose converter, buck-Bose converter, then Kirk converter, and then single integrator. About apart whatever we studied in the power electronics curriculum, so we are going to study about so apart from our curriculum. So we move on to the outline of presentation. First, we are going to discuss about the family of DC-DC converters. So what are the families involved in the DC-DC converters? There is the KY converters, soft switching converters, short delay converters, then interleaved tunneling. How to do the modeling of power converters are also. Then suppose I want to do Sendil
Ramesh sir.
Hello. Hello. The voice is
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, your voice is not clear, sir.
Now?
Yeah, it's okay, sir. You can continue, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So once again, good morning to all of you. Today I'm going to share about recent trends in DC-DC power converters. Coming to the outline of today presentation. Now clear, sir?
Ramesh sir, your voice is not audible, sir.
Sending sir, now clear. Hello. Hello.
Sir, your voice is not
Hello?
audible, sir.
Now?
Yeah, it's okay, sir. Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah, okay. So, sorry for the interruption. Today I'm going to share about recent trends in DC-DC converters. DC-DC converters means it converts the fixed DC voltage into variable DC voltage. We move on to the outline of today's presentation. First, we are going to discuss about the DC-DC converter family, followed by the loop family converters, KY converters, stop switching converters, Shepard-Taylor converters, interleaved converters, modeling approaches. Then, because how to do the modeling of power converters. Then I will give some design of controllers for power converters. Suppose if you want to do the research work or UG or PG project, then how to do the literature survey, then followed by the problem formulations. Then I will take one converters, how to design the modeling and the controllers. This is what we are going to discuss today. We move on to the introduction. Before start of the any topic, coming to the today topic, we focus on the DC-DC converters. First, we should know the history. What is the history behind for the DC-DC converters? In 1920s, DC-DC conversion technology was established. So, like by using a rheostat or potentiometer. By using a potentiometer and a rheostat, so we are converting the DC-DC conversion. When you are doing the potentiometer for a DC-DC conversion process, generally the rheostat or potentiometer dissipated the power in the form of heat. That heat we are going to call it as a loss. So when you are doing the rheostat for a DC-DC conversion process, some amount of power is dissipated in the form of heat. That is, we can call it as a heat. So when you have a heat, so that is converted to the loss. That loss automatically what will happen? That will lead to decrease the efficiency. So when you go for the DC-DC conversion by using the rheostat, so we have a problem of lesser efficiency. In order to overcome that problem, so we move on to the in 1960s, semiconductor devices was introduced like transistors and then SCRs. So based on the transistors, then we developed the choppers, like a class A chopper in 1960. Because whatever the drawback in the rheostat for doing the DC-DC conversion process, then it should be overcome by the, like in 1960s, with the help of the power semiconductor technology. By using the transistor, so we developed the class A chopper. Then next thing, based on the application, based on the topology, based on the power rating, so we have to categorize the DC-DC converter into 6 generations, like first generation converters, second generation converters, third generation converters, fourth generation converters, fifth generation converters, sixth generation converters. So it entirely depends upon the topology, because we have to categorize it into different generation. Then how to categorize the different generation means, like based on the topology, so based on the application, based on the power rating, so we have to categorize the 6 generation of converters. because these are all called it as a family of DC-DC converter. But as per our power electronics subject concern, we focused only for the buck converter, boost converter, Cook converter, like a SEPI converters. So now we move on to the first generation converter here. The first generation converters, fundamental circuit. So whatever we studied in the power electronics subject, that is called it as a, like a fundamental circuit, buck converter, boost converter, buck boost converter. Suppose, for example, I want to increase the voltage, I want to increase the output voltage, I want to decrease the output voltage. So depending on that, we are going to call it as a buck converter and boost converter. Then similarly, buck boost converter. So I want to increase the output voltage, I want to decrease the output voltage, we can go for the buck boost converters. So these three we are going to call it as a fundamental converters. It was developed in the year of like 1974 ever. Then again in first generation we have a developed converters, positive output loop converters, negative output loop converters, double output loop converters, Cook converter, single-ended primary inductance converters, then tapped inductor converters. So we will discuss loop converter. What do you mean by loop? Loop converter is also a DC-DC converter. So what do you mean by positive output? Means our input is also positive, output is also positive. Now we can call it as a positive output loop converter. So negative output loop converter means input is positive, but output is negative. Some depending on the some of the application needs some negative output voltage. For such applications, we can go further like a negative output loop converters. We move on to the third one, transformer type. Like we have to do the isolation. So with the help of the like a transformer. So now we can call it as a forward converters, playback converters, push-pull converters, then off-bridge converters, then bridge converters, zeta converter. These all comes under for the transformer based like DC-DC converter. It comes under for the first generation. Again, it was introduced in the year of 1974. However, then we move on to the next one is called it as a voltage lift technique. So in voltage lift technique also we have a 7 lift loop converters, positive output loop converter, negative output loop converter, modified positive output loop converter, double output loop converter. All the loop converters developed by the Franklin Loop and Amgi. Then we move on to the next one is super lift loop converters. Then a super lift again we have a positive output cascaded boost converter, negative output cascaded boost converter, positive output super lift loop converter, again negative output super lift loop converter. Like that we have a different categories for a super lift technique also. Like ultra lift technique is a combined characteristics of voltage lift technique and a super lift technique. So now how do you differentiate the voltage lift technique and the super lift technique and the ultra lift technique means? Coming to the DC-DC converter, we have a concept called it as a voltage transfer gain. The ratio of the output voltage to input voltage is called it as a voltage transfer gain. Coming to the voltage lift technique, the output voltage transfer gain increases in arithmetic progression. So this is the concept to begin for the voltage lift technique. So arithmetic progression means suppose if I have a one converter, I can add one more converter, so I can increase the gain by 1. So this is we are going to call it as a like a voltage lift technique. So that means the output voltage transfer gain increases in a arithmetic progression. So we move on to the super lift technique. The output voltage transfer gain increases in the nth power of the stage. So if I have one stage, the next stage will be nth power of the stage. Likewise, we are going to increase the output voltage transfer gain. So this is the concept behind for the super lift technique. Ultra lift technique means a combined characteristics of voltage lift technique and super lift technique. So this is the concept to begin for what do you mean by voltage lift technique? What do you mean by super lift technique? What do you mean by ultra lift technique? So these all we are going to call it as a first generation DC-DC converters. Then coming to the second one, second generation multi-quadrant converters. For example, drives point of view, like maybe in DC drives application point of view, we need a multi-quadrant. For such application, so we have to develop like a multi-quadrant loop converters, then transformer type converters. So based on this, we have to categorize. I already told how do you categorize the DC-DC converter families based on the topology, based on the application, based on the power rating. So depending on the application, here we are going to operate it for the multi-quadrant operation of any type of drives. So particularly for a DC drives here. So now we move on to the like multi-quadrant loop converter. So it comes under for the second generation multi-quadrant converters. We move on to the next one is called it as a third generation switched component converters. Switched component converter means, for example, if we have a one single capacitor, we have to split it into two types of. We have to split the capacitor. We have to split the inductors. Based on this concept, we can call it as a, like a third generation switched component converters. So now we move on to the fourth generation. Now this comes under for the soft switching converters. We have like a soft switching. Why we go for the soft switching means like a zero voltage switching, zero current switching. So whenever the switch is turned on and turned off, the voltage across the switch and the current through the switch is going to be zero by using the resonant component or tank component. By using the resonant component and the tank component, making the current and current through the device is zero. So once if the current through the device and the voltage across the device is zero, with the support of the tank component or resonant component, normally what will happen, our switching loss is going to be fall down. So once the switching loss is reduces, automatically switching loss is also a part of the total loss. Our total loss is going to be fall down, or for total loss is reduces. Then efficiency of the system is increases. So this is the main reason why we move on to the soft switching technique. So based on this concept, so we have a like a generation that is called it as a fourth generation converters. Then it again we move on to the next one, fifth generation synchronous rectifier converters. So this is more suitable for high current, low voltage application. I already told. So how do you categorize the DC-DC converter is based on the topology, based on the application, based on the power rating. So now again here fifth generation converters, it is more suitable for like high current, low voltage application, particularly for like a motherboard. So motherboards also need some high current, low voltage applications, like maybe like a 12 volt, 10 amps or 5 amps. Such type of application, we move on to the fifth generation converter, that is called it as a synchronous rectifier converters. Then we move on to the next one is sixth generation. It comes under for the like multi elements. We have to add for the like multi elements like tank component. Based on this, we have categorized like a sixth generation converter. So these all comes under for the like DC-DC converters family. So you have around 560 topology for a DC-DC converters. But as per our power electronics subject concern, we studied only for only like 3 or 4 types of DC-DC converters. So now we move on to the like the power rating of loop family converter, because the loop converter is also a DC-DC converters. We move on to here the loop converter at present scenario. The power rating is designed from 5 watts to 1250 watts and 3120 watts for a different applications. So it was developed again Franklin Lu and Hangi, Geo. So up to further 2017 and 2018. So this is up to the power rating for a loop converter design specification. So we move on to the next one is like a performance analysis of various DC-DC converters. So whatever we discussed the different generation of DC-DC converter, we are look for the performance of the analysis for a different generation of converters. So how to do the performance analysis? We move on to the DC-DC converters, voltage transfer gain and the ripple factors. We are looking for the sum of the constraint for any topology of DC-DC converters, like voltage transfer gain, then a ripple factors, size and weight, or then voltage regulation. So these are all we are going to call it as a major constraint for the any topology of DC-DC converters. So we move on to the first generation of converters. Like first generation is fundamental, developed voltage lift, super lift. So the first generation converter only operated in the first quadrant. That is very, very important. When we want to select any application, so we should know whether this converter is going to be operated in a first quadrant or second quadrant or all the four quadrant. So what is the power rating, what is the voltage transfer gain, what is the ripple factor? These all the points are very, very important when you are going to choose for a particular application. I want to select on a DC-DC converter. So we are going to looking for all these factors. That is very, very important. So now, as per the first generation converter concern, it is more suitable for first quadrant, or we can operate only in first quadrant. The power rating is we can design a 100 watts, then a ripple voltage here somewhat high for a fundamental circuit, transformer type medium, developed type, and then voltage lift and super lift ripple factor is less than 2%. Then we move on to the voltage transfer gain. The voltage transfer gain, I already told you, the ratio of output voltage to input voltage, we can call it as a voltage transfer gain. So voltage transfer gain for a fundamental converter is very low. Then transformer type converter is high. Then again a developed type converter is high. Then voltage lift converter also high, and the super lift converter also very high. Then we move on to the second generation of converters. The second generation of converter, we can call it as a multi-quadrant transformer type converters, multi-quadrant loop converters. So these second generation converters, we can operate in a second and fourth quadrant. Then coming to the power rating, so we can operate for 100 watts and more. So we can design these such type of converter for power rating 100 watts and more. So now coming to the ripple factor here, less than 2%, the voltage transfer gain is also more. So now we move on to the third quadrant converter. We can operate either in a second quadrant and fourth quadrant. So we can design the third generation converters for power rating of 1000 watts. Again, ripple factor is very small, then efficiency high. Then we move on to the fourth generation converters. Fourth generation converter, this is a soft switching converter. When you go for the soft switching converter, the power loss, that is switching loss on and off, switching loss is very low. So now automatically what will happen, efficiency is high. Then we can design the power rating up to for 1000 watt. We can operate first and second and fourth quadrant. So voltage transfer gain for this type of generation of converters also good. Then we move on to the fifth generation of converters. In fifth generation, we can call it as a synchronous rectifier, DC-DC converter. We can operate first quadrant, second quadrant, and fourth quadrant. Then coming to the power rating here, I already told you it is more suitable for a low voltage, high current DC power supply, particularly for a communication equipment, computers. So needs the low voltage and a high current for power supply. So therefore, we can go for the synchronous rectifier DC-DC converters. Then again, voltage transfer gain is also good. So now, so this is we are going to call it as a performance analysis of the various generation of the DC-DC converters. So next we move on to the family of loop converters. Coming to the loop family converter, we have to categorize it into three techniques. First one is voltage lift technique. Second one is super lift technique. Third one, ultra lift technique. So voltage lift technique means I already told output voltage transfer gain increases in arithmetic progressions. So that means if I have one converter, we can add one more converter. Likewise, we are going to increase the gain of the converter. That is, gain means voltage transfer gain, ratio of output voltage by input voltage. We can call it as a voltage transfer gain. So that the gain is incremented by 1. So likewise, we are going to increase the voltage transfer gain of the loop converters. So this is, we are going to call it as a voltage lift technique. So we move on to the second one, super lift technique. The output voltage transfer gain increases in nth power of the stage. If I have one stage, then the second stage output will be increases in the nth power of the stage. Likewise, we are increasing the voltage transfer gain of loop converter it is called it as a super lift technique. Ultra lift technique means combined characteristics of voltage lift technique and super lift technique. So ultra lift technique means we have to combine both the voltage lift technique and the super lift technique. So we can call it as a ultra lift technique. So again, we move on to the voltage lift technique. We have a positive output loop converter and a negative output loop converter. Positive output means input is positive, output is also positive. Negative output means input is positive, output is negative. So now again, in positive output loop converter, we have elementary circuit. Elementary circuit, basic circuits, fundamental circuits. Then a self-lift circuit, re-lift circuit, multi-lift circuit means self-lift circuit derived from the elementary circuit by adding the inductors, capacitors, and the diode. So then similarly, re-lift technique also derived from the self-lift circuit. Multi-lift also derived from the re-lift circuit. Similarly, the negative output also we have a elementary circuit, self-lift circuit, re-lift circuit, multi-lift circuit. Then again, a super lift technique, we have a positive output to super lift to loop converter, negative output super lift to loop converter. Again, here we have a main series for a negative positive output loop converters. And then main series also we have a elementary circuit and a re-lift circuit and a triple lift circuit. Then again here we have additional series. In additional series also we have elementary circuit, self-lift circuit, triple lift circuit. Then similarly positive output cascaded boost converter, negative output cascaded boost converter also have the main series and the additional series. So what do you mean by main series means each circuit of main series has one switch. So that circuit have a one switch, n inductors, 2n capacitors, 3n minus 1 diodes. Then each additional, so this is the structure began for a main series of positive output, negative output, loop super lift to loop converter, on the positive output, on the negative output, cascaded boost converter. So this is the structure began for the main series. We need one switches, n number of inductors, 2n capacitors, 3n minus 1 diodes. Then again coming to the additional series, each additional series we have one switch and n inductors, 2 into n plus 1 capacitors, and 3n plus 1 diodes. This is the structure began for the additional series for super lift techniques or super lift converters. Like it is applicable for both like super lift technique and cascaded boost converters. Right? So we move on to the next one, general constraint of DC-DC converter. So what are all the constraints? We are looking for the any topology of DC-DC converter. So I already told. First one is the output voltage regulation. Second one is the ripple voltage. Third one is like size. Fourth one is weight. So for example, when we are going to design a power supply for medical instruments or a power supply for the like maybe for a internal component of CPU or a power supply for the like robot interface communication device or power supply for like mobiles or anything regulated to voltage regulation. Second one is a ripple factor. So as per the power quality of DC-DC converter concern, we are looking for the ripple factors. Some AC component is mixing in the DC. That AC portion we are going to call it as a ripple voltage. So we have to give the minimized ripple voltage. So once if we give the minimized ripple voltage to the any application, so the like maybe power supply for the mobile, so the lifetime of the mobile is going to be high. So therefore, power quality of DC-DC converter concern, we have to focus on the like a ripple factor. So ripple factor is also major factors. Then second thing is size and weight. For example, I want to design, you can take it as a computer CB. In computer CB, I want to design the power supply for the like fan actually. In CPU, internal side of CPU, you have a fan for cooling purpose. I want to cool the internal parts of the CPU, so we need a cooling fan. So in the cooling fan, so I want to design the power supply. So I want to design the power supply for the CPU fan. So now I have to design the DC-DC converter lesser than CB unit. So I don't design for the bigger than a CB unit. So that is the first thing. Size is very important. So I want to design the one DC-DC converter for play of fan, CB fan. Then I have to design the smaller than that of CB size. You don't design for the bigger than weight also. So weight is also very, very important. If I'm going to fix the one DC-DC converter, so that place also we have to focus on the weight. So these are all the some of the major constraints for the DC-DC converters. So as per the any topology of DC-DC converter concern, so we are looking for the output voltage regulation. Then second one is ripple voltage. Third one is size and weight. So we move on to the application. So like mentioned some application. So whenever we are going to do some project work or research work or maybe UG project or PG project or research project or anything, so application is very, very important. So I'm going to select one DC-DC converter for some application. So I'm going to design one converter, select one DC-DC converter, or you have to design one DC-DC converter for a particular application. So if you want to DC converter, application is important. So therefore, you have to select a smaller power rating application. You don't take it as a bigger rating. Even if you want to do the research work or UG project or maybe PG project. So please, if suppose your students are maybe your research scholar, or maybe you are guiding some students, please select the application. That is very, very important. Otherwise, the project is meaningless. So application is very, very important. So here, telecommunication network needs a power supply. So for example, power rating is 20 watts. So we can design on a DC-DC converter for power supply of telecommunication network for a power rating of 20 watts. Computer hardware parts like a CPU fan also consumes 5 watts power. So we can choose for the 5 to 6 watts. Then military application. So then in military application, we can use the power supply for military equipments like 20 watts. Industrial robot system, like in industrial robot system, that communication interface device need a power supply. That power supply power rating is 16 watts. Like medical equipments, for example, physiotherapy instruments. For a physiotherapy instruments, so need a power supply. So we can design a DC-DC converter for a power supply of physiotherapy instruments. It consumes 12 watts. Then again, renewable energy power system. For renewable energy power system, for example, each PV cell produces the voltage of 0.5 volt. Suppose I want to increase the PV voltage, we have to connect the cells in a series combination and a parallel combination. So then only we can increase the PV voltage or solar panel voltage. Then even we don't increase up to for a high voltage range. So what we have to do means we go for the DC-DC converter. So the input of DC-DC converter is like a renewable source. Like it can increase the high level of voltage, then low level of voltage to high level of voltage. So we can apply for the DC-DC converter in a renewable energy sources. Then again, we can go for the fuel cell also, because the fuel cell is converting the chemical energy into electrical energy. Again, the fuel cell also producing the low voltages. If I want to increase the voltages, you can stack the fuel cell. Then again, we have to increase the voltage, but it is not up to the mark. If you are doing like this, the cost is very, very high as per the fuel cell concern. So now, what is the alternative solution? We have to connect on DC-DC converter. In the input of DC-DC converter, you have to connect the fuel cell. So now again, we are going to increase the low voltage from the fuel cell to then we can generate from the high voltage with the support of the DC-DC converter. So not only that, in electrical vehicle also, we are going to use for the DC-DC converters. So these are all the some of the application of DC-DC converter. So as per my suggestion, please select the application. When you're going to design any topology of DC-DC converter, application is very, very important. So it is not a matter of power rating. There may be a low power rating or medium power rating or high power rating. That is not a problem. So please select the application. That is very, very important. So next, we move on to some of the application. Now the first one is a model picture. Second one is like input voltage. Third one is like output voltage. Like input voltage start from 8. You can vary the input voltage from 8 to 48 volt. Output voltage is varies from 2 to 80 volt. The power rating is 30 watts and 50 watts. DC input battery charger, solar charge controller. Because in renewable energy system, the output of solar energy not directly connected to the battery. Through the charge controller, we are going to connect the output of renewable energy or PV system to the battery. So that solar charge controller also, so we have to design the 30 watt or something and 50 watts. Again, second one is like a battery charger, uninterruptible power supply. So that range also like a power supply for 8 to 30 volt and 1.8 to 18 volt. These are all some of the applications. Then again, DVD also need a power supply, radios, stereo, transmitters. Now this is the rating, input voltage 4.5 volt to 9 volt. Then again 24 volt, 1 amps and 12 watts. These are all the some of the like a small power rating application picture here. So we move on to the next one. Sir, you are talking about loop converter. Now first we move on to the positive output elementary loop converter. We have a basic converter, then self-lift converter, re-lift converter, multi-lift converter. So now this is the structure of the positive output. The first A figure indicates the positive output elementary loop converter. The second one is indicated as a buck boost converter. So now these positive output elementary loop converter derived from the buck boost converters. I already told all the loop converters, all the family of loop converters are derived from the fundamental converters only. So it is not like derived directly or something. But only thing is derived from the fundamental converters, but we are doing the modification. What is that modification is? We are adding the component like inductor and capacitor and diodes. So now we move on to here. Just look at here. We have a switch here. We have inductor here. We have a switch here. Similarly, you have a switch here. So this is the inductor. So you have inductor here. So now just look at here. This is the diode here. Here instead of we are connected as a inductor. So just here we have to like a diode here. So then in the output side we have like this. So just so this portion we are modifying here. So we are adding the capacitor, we are interchanging, we are adding the inductor and interchanging the diode. So this combination is happened for the fundamental positive output elementary loop converter. So it means the positive output elementary loop converter derived from the buck boost converter. So by adding of the capacitor and the inductor and then diodes. So now we can call it as a positive output elementary loop converter. So that means positive output elementary loop converter derived from the buck boost converter. That is the first point. Second thing is we move on to the working here. So now first thing, the switch is closed. For example, in a positive output elementary loop converter, the switch is closed. So the inductor L1, is energized up to the supply voltage. So next, diode D does not conduct. Similarly, the inductor L2 again charging with the help of the input voltage as well as this capacitor, because the capacitor in the previous off mode it charged. whenever the switch is on, what will happen? This capacitor is C1 releasing the energy through the inductor L2 and then capacitor. Now the inductor is charging now. Inductor is LT charging with the support of input voltage and supply voltage. Up to it is going to charge the sum of the input voltage plus capacitor voltage. That is the voltage across the C1, right? So the second thing is when the switch is open, here when we are going to open the switch. Now this diode D is going to be conduct. Now whatever the energy is stored in the inductor during the on time, when the switch is open, this energy is releases through the diode D. Now the diode is conductor. Now these capacitors start to charge. So start to charge. Similarly, this inductor start to discharge through these capacitor and the load. So this is the working of the basic fundamental positive output loop converters, right? So positive output elementary loop converter derived from the buck boost converter by adding the diodes, inductor and the capacitor. So we move on to the next one here. So this is the positive output elementary superlift loop converter. So now this positive output elementary loop converter derived from the boost converter. Now here, just look at here, we have a capacitor C1, then again we have a diode D1. Just to remove these two components and connect the, just remove these two components and connect the inductor to diode D2. Now this is similar to the boost converter circuit. Boost converter means the output voltage is higher than that of input voltage. So boost converter is also like a fundamental or basic DC-DC converters, one of the type of DC-DC converter. Now coming to here in a superlift converter, we are adding the diode and capacitor here. So we are adding this diode D1 and the capacitor. Now the structure is changed to the positive output elementary superlift loop converter for the purpose of increasing the voltage transfer gain. So now for normal boost converter, output voltage to input voltage, the ratio of output voltage to input voltage is equal to 1 divided by 1 minus D or K, duty cycle. Duty cycle means the ratio of T onto total time period. We can call it as a duty cycle. So coming to here, the positive output element is superlift loop converter. So V0 is equal to 2 minus K divided by 1 minus K into V1. So now we move on to the working here. When the switch is closed here, when the switch is closed, what will happen? The inductor L1, this inductor L1 and the capacitor C1 is charged up to the supply voltage. At the same time, this diode does not conduct because the anode potential is very low compared to the cathode of the diode D2. Therefore, diode D2 does not conduct. So diode D1 conduct. So now the input is connected to the circuit. Then the inductor L1 and the C1 is charged up to the voltage of V1 through the diode D1 and the switch. Then previous energy in the capacitor C2 now releases the energy to the load. Now it is discharging through the load. So this is the mode 1. We move on to the mode 2. When the switch is open, what will happen? The voltage across the inductor, the voltage across the capacitor plus supply voltage. So we are adding 3 voltages. So now these 3 voltages is higher. We are adding this voltage. Now the anode of the diode D2 is higher potential compared to the cathode of the diode D2. Now the diode D2 conduct. Now this voltage across the inductor and voltage across the capacitor, input voltage is pumped back to the load through the capacitor, through the diode D2. Now the capacitor C2 is charging. C2 is charging and then again go to the load. So when the switch is off, so this is the equivalent circuit. Like for example, C. For example, you can take it as a when input voltage is 12 volt. for example. Now the inductor L1 is charging up to the voltage of, for example, 12 volt, and then the capacitor also 12 volt. So when the switch is open, what will happen? The input voltage 12 volt plus inductor voltage 12 volt plus again a capacitor 12 volt. Then add the 3 voltages. Then these 3 voltages come back to the load. Now the load voltage is 36 volt. So this is the way we are boosting the voltage. Our input voltage is 12 volt. So we are increasing the voltage of like 36 volt. So this is the another one of the example of super lift basic fundamental loop converters. Right. So now we move on to the comparison of various DC-DC converter voltage transfer gain. So we have to take it as a buck converter, boost converter, buck boost converter, voltage lift loop converters, super lift loop converters, ultra lift loop converters. Now the second one is second column indicates the voltage transfer gain. So voltage transfer gain means the ratio of output voltage to input voltage. For buck converter, that ratio is equal to D. For boost converter, that ratio is equal to 1 divided by 1 minus D. Then the buck boost converter, that ratio is equal to D divided by 1 minus D. Voltage lift technique, N divided by 1 minus D. N we are going to call it as a number of stages. Then similarly for a super lift loop converter, 2 minus D. Then divided by 1 minus D minus 1. Then finally ultra lift loop converter, 2 minus D divided by 1 minus D. So now the next columns, we are going to call it as we are taken as a different duty cycle. For example, 0.2, 0.33, 0.5, 0.67 and 0.8 or 0.9. We substitute in the second column formula voltage transfer gain for various type of DC-DC converters. Then you will get the voltage transfer gain for example 0.9 duty cycle. For buck converter is 0.9 voltage transfer gain. For boost converter 10. For buck boost converter 9. For voltage lift technique 9. Super lift to loop converter 11. Then ultra lift to loop converter like 99. We see that for a duty cycle of 0.8 or 0.9 or similarly 0.5 and 0.6, the super lift to loop converter and voltage lift loop converter, ultra lift to loop converter is very, very high. So this is the one of the clear evidence for loop converter. The voltage transfer gain is very high, right? So when you are going to do the analysis, this is also one of the way we are doing the analysis for any topology of DC-DC converters, right? So next we move on to the merits of the loop family converters. What are all the merits over the conventional DC-DC converter? Efficiency, that is then second one is high power density, then voltage transfer gain, ripple factor, output voltage and inductor current ripple is a very, very small, cheap topology. Then a suppression of or elimination of parasitic element. Parasitic element is an internal resistance of the storage elements. We can call it as a parasitic elements. So these are all some of the main advantages in comparison with the conventional DC converters. So we move on to the next one, control strategy for a DC-DC converters. Maybe you are studied, maybe everyone studied in a power electronics subject. Time ratio control, current limit control. In time ratio control, we have two types as variable frequency system and a fixed frequency system. So in variable frequency system, the chopping time period is varied. Then you have to keep the either on time and off time constant. It is come center for the variable frequency system. So we move on to the fixed frequency system. The chopping time period is fixed. So we have to vary the either on time and off time. So it is called it as a fixed frequency system or PWM modulation system. There are different names also there. PWM method or pulse width modulation technique or fixed frequency system. Variable frequency system is also called it as a frequency modulation system. There are some other names also there. So coming to the time ratio control method, you have a variable frequency and a fixed frequency system. So, but coming to the variable frequency system, we have some pluses and we have some minuses also. That means we have some benefits and we have some drawbacks also. So coming to the pluses of variable frequency system, when I am going to operate any topology of DC-DC converters at a variable frequency method or variable frequency system, you have a very good dynamic response. You have a very good dynamic response. This is one of the major advantages for a variable frequency system. But the problem is filter design. The drawback is filter design. So when you are operating the variable frequency, we are facing a problem of filter design, and also we are facing a problem of electromagnetic interference problem. So these are all some of the major drawbacks in a variable frequency system. But you have a very good dynamic response as per the variable frequency system concern. So whenever I want to operate the any topology of DC-DC converters in variable frequency system, so we have plus and also minus. But depending on our application, so I want to focus only for the dynamic response. So I don't bother about the filter design, all those things. So we can go for the variable frequency system. That is depending upon our application. So selection of variable frequency system or fixed frequency system, that entirely depends upon our application. So my system is well operated for variable frequency. Then we can go for the variable frequency. Otherwise, I want to focus only for the dynamic response. We can go for the variable frequency. So we move on to the next one, fixed frequency. In fixed frequency system, the filter design is fixed, but you have like a moderated dynamic response. So this is some pluses and minus for the fixed frequency system. So depending on our application, we can go for any method, right? Then coming to the next one, current limit control method. In current limit control method, first thing, application is very, very important. The current limit, because we have two control strategy for DC-DC converters. One is a time ratio controller method, TRC. Second one is called it as a current limit controller. Then short form, we can call it as a CLC. Current limit control method, it is only applicable for a inductive load. It is not applicable for the resistive load. That is the first important point. So whenever my load is like inductive load, maybe for example DC motor or RL load, so now we can go for the like a current limited control technique. It is only applicable for the inductive loads, right? Inductive and capacitive loads. And now when the switch is, for example, chopper switch is on or DC-DC converter switch is on. Because a DC-DC converter also call it as a DC chopper, right? When the chopper switch is on or DC-DC converter switch is on, the current starts from the lower limit. Like this, here we represented I1 to then a maximal limit I2. So when the switch is on, during the on-time period, the inductor or output current, that is the load current, start to travel from the lower limit to higher limit. When the chopper switch is off, then the load current is fall down from the higher limit to lower limit. That is I2 to I1. Again, the sequence is going to be repeated. Likewise, I1 to I2. When the switch is on, again I2 to I1, the switch is off. So now this ripple from I1 to I2, I2 to I1, we are going to call it as a ripple current. This ripple current depends upon the switching frequency. For example, we are going to select the switching frequency. So based on the switching frequency, that ripple is like, it may be like, for example, 1 amps or 2 amps or 3 amps. That entirely depends upon the switching frequency. Next is then a filter component and a load. So these three are major factor for the magnitude of the load current ripple factors or ripple current. So this load current ripple entirely depends upon the load parameters, filter component, then switching frequency. This method only suitable for inductive load, right? So this is the most important point as per the current limited controller technique. We move on to the next one, KY converters. So KY converter topology is also a DC-DC converters, because the loop converter also DC-DC converters. The loop converter, we have voltage lift technique, super lift technique, and ultra lift technique. And again, we have so many classification for super lift, voltage lift. Then as per the loop family converter concern, we have around 560 plus some topologies, right? Loop converter also DC-DC converters. Then coming to the KY converter also call it as a DC-DC converter. But why it is called it as a KY converters? So KI who and YT yeah. These two are authors of the KY converters or inventors of the KY converters. So based on the initials of, just look at the initial of the two authors. So these two are inventors of KY converter. So based on these two inventor initial, they framed like a KY converters topology. So KI who and Y2 yeah. So they taken as a first initials of the both authors. They framed as a converters. Now it is called it as a KY converters topology, right? So the KY converter also call it as a DC-DC converters. So now we move on to the structure. What is the structure behind for the KY converter? So I already told for a loop converter concern, voltage lift is derived from the buck boost converters and then boost converter for super lift technique. Here also we have a KY structure. We have a KY structure. In the KY structure, we have to add the synchronous buck converter or boost converter, buck boost converters. In combination, we can call it as a KY boost converter, KY buck converter, KY boost converter. So this is the structure behind for the KY converters, any topology. So now coming to the, what are all the different topology up to date means, the first one is in 2019, KY converter and its derivative. One of the paper is published. Then a second one is second order derived KY converter. Then KY boost converter in 2010. Then next to 2009, again two types of KY buck boost converters. Then 2010, again negative output KY boost converters. Then 2012, a novel buck boost converter combining KY and buck boost converters. Up to date, we have two more converter also, like FLC and sliding mode controller for KY boost converter. So we have a 2-3 more papers also published till date. So these are all the different different topology of DC-DC converters, right? So now we move on to the, what is the structure? I already told you have a KY structure. We have a structure. So in a super lift, then again voltage lift is derived from the buck boost converter, boost converters. So coming to the KY converter is also a DC-DC converter. The KY, you have a separate structure. So now this is the structure of the KY converter here. The KY converter, we have a two switches here, one diode here, then again capacitor, and then inductor. Again, output side we have. So we have output side LNC filter, and then two devices like switching devices, and then diode and capacitor. So this is the combination for the KY structure. This is the KY structure, right? So now we move on to the working of the KY structure here. When the switch S1 is on, we have a two switches here. So when S1 is on, for example. So now what is the current flow path? Start from the supply voltage, the switches and the capacitor CB, and goes to the inductor and the capacitor and the load, again go to the supply. So this is the current flow path for when the switch is S1 is on. Next, when the switch S2 is on, S1 is off. First one is S1 is on, S2 is off. Second one is when S2 is on and S1 is off. So now the current flow path is, this is the direction. Now the diode, then again inductor, and then a capacitor, then again output side capacitor, again go to the supply. So this is the current flow path. So this is the working of the KY converter structure or KY converter, basic structure. So when you are going to equating the voltage, the inductor current is rising, then inductor current is falling. When you are equating this, you will get the voltage transfer gain. This is the voltage transfer gain. So the voltage transfer gain for the KY converter topology or basic KY converter structure is, so V0 to Vi is equal to 1 plus D. So D we are going to call it as a duty cycle, right? So next we move on to the KY boost converter. Now just look at here. First we need the KY structure. So here we have a 2 switches, 1 diode and a capacitor, and we have a output side filter L0 and S0. We are adding the only input side inductor Li and the Cm. So now this combination we are going to call it as a KY boost converter. So that means the KY boost converter is derived from the KY structure in combination of Cm and Li by adding the KY structure with inductor and capacitor. Now we are going to call it as a KY boost converter. So the KY boost converter is developed from the KY structure by adding the one inductor and a capacitor, right? So now we are going to call it as a KY boost converter, right? So the KY converter also call it as a DC-DC converters. Coming to here, so the working of the KY boost converter here. Now just look at here, we have a 2 switches here. Then S2 is on, S1 is off. So now this is input is connected to the circuit. So now just look at here, the previous energy again goes to the load. Then again input energy and again capacitor and goes to, this is the current flow path. Then again when the switch is S2 open, S1 is on, so the red line is indicate the current flow path, right? So this is the working of the KY boost converters, right? So the KY boost converter is developed from the KY structure by adding the one inductor and the capacitor, right? So this is the way we are going to design the KY boost converter, right? The next one, what are all the benefits? Why we move on to the KY converter topology? The first thing is loop converters and the Cook converters. These converters, the structure is having a more component. If you look at the glue converters and the Cook converter, glue converter we discussed only for the basic circuits. If you go for the self-lift, re-lift and multi-lift, you have a more number of inductors and a more number of capacitors and more number of diodes. So the loop converter and the Cook converter have more component or more elements in comparison with the KY converter. In KY converter, we used only for the limited component. So this is the one of the main advantages. The second thing is the KY converter has continuous input and output inductor current. The next thing is the ripple voltage. The ripple voltage is very, very small. The ripple voltage is very, very small as per the KY converter concern. So like what is the range of the ripple voltage? It is in the range of few millivolts. So few millivolts. That is one of the main advantages for the KY converters. Major advantage. As per the KY converter concern, we have a minimum ripple. That range is like a millivolt range. Second one is it is suitable for low ripple applications. Because as per these converter concern, we have a low ripple. So whenever you need a low ripple applications, we can go for the KY converters. Not only that, we can go for the low power rating also. Next, there is no right of plane zero when operating it in a DCM. DCM means discontinuous conduction mode. So the inductor current never crossing to zero, we can call it as a continuous conduction mode. Whenever I am going to operate the DC-DC converter, just look at the inductor current of selected DC-DC converter. The current never crossing to zero, we can call it as a continuous conduction mode. When the inductor current is crossing to zero, we can call it as a discontinuous conduction mode. So the boundary between the continuous conduction mode and the discontinuous conduction mode, we can call it as a critical mode operation. So when you are going to operate the continuous conduction mode, you have to select the higher value of inductance. When you are going to operate the converters, DC-DC converters in a DCM mode, we can select the inductor in a low range. So between these two regions, that is the borderline between or boundary line between the continuous conduction mode and the discontinuous conduction mode. So we have to design a inductor, call it as a critical inductance. That is, call it as a critical inductance. So there is no right of plane zero when operating it in a DCM mode. For example, we can take it as a boost converter. In boost converter, when the switch is on, what will happen? Maybe everyone knows about the structure. The inductor storing the energy, but the diode does not conduct. And during the on-time period, the input is not connected to the load. It is only connected to the supply. So once switch is open, the input is connected to the load through the diode. So there is a phase lag. There is a phase lag. But in a buck converter, when the switch is on, the input is connected to the load through the inductor. When the switch is open, again stored energy pass on to the load through the freewheeling diode. In buck converter, both mode, during the switch on mode and the switch off mode, the stored energy in the inductor is passed on to the load. Therefore, there is no phase lag. But coming to here, there is no right of. So there is no phase lag means we can call it as there is no right of plane zero. So when you're going to operate in a DCM mode for KY converter, there is no right of plane zero. That means there is no phase lag, right? So these are all some of the benefits of the KY converters. Component point of view, then a ripple point of view, then we can go for the low ripple applications. So then we can, for a medical application, we can go for the battery charger applications. So these are all the places we can go for the KY converter, LED driver, power supply for LED. So suppose I want to control the brightness of the LED, then we can go for these type of converters. Power supply for a stereo, we can go for these type of converters. Right? So this is the second topology of DC-DC converters. So first we discussed about the loop family converters. Then second is the KY converter. So this is some of the examples for the KY converter. Next, we move on to the interleaved converters. So what do you mean by interleaved converter? That is, first you should know it. For example, you can take it as a battery. So for a given battery, or otherwise I want to charge the battery. So whenever we are going to charge the battery, we need some of the constraints or requirements. Fixed voltage. We have to give the fixed voltage. If we give the fluctuated voltage, you have a undercharging and overcharging. So automatically what will happen? Lifetime of the battery fall down. So therefore, you have to give the fixed voltage, fixed output voltage. Then second thing is you are connecting the voltage, but that voltage have the few ripples. You have to take care of that ripple also. So the ripple voltage is very, very small. So I want to charge the battery. So you have to give the fixed output voltage and then few ripples in the output voltage. So you can take it as, for example, a conventional. I want to attain these two constraints. So first we take it as one example, boost converter. In boost converter, the magnitude of ripple in both input current and output voltage are high, which is not a desired value. So in boost converter, conventional boost converter, the input current ripple and output voltage ripple, it is very high, both the sides, which is not desired one. While input current is reduced, the input inductor current ripple is reduced in conventional boost converter. For example, in conventional boost converter, I want to reduce the input current ripple. So naturally, what we have to do means we have to increase the size of the filter component, like inductors. You have to increase the filter component. The size of the inductor is going to be increased. Right? So I want to, in conventional boost converter, I want to reduce the ripple. Then you have to increase the values of the filter component. Naturally, what will happen? The size of the filter component is increased. So I want to reduce the ripple without increasing the size of the inductor. So to reduce the ripple along with the minimum component size, we can go for the interleaved concept. So why we go for the interleaved concept? That is very, very important. For a given battery charging application, we need some requirements. So we have to provide some good output voltage and we have to provide the few ripple output voltage. But we taken as some example for a conventional boost converter. In conventional boost converter, the input inductor current and output voltage ripples are higher, which is not desired value. But even though I want to reduce the ripples of the inductor current and the output voltage, then we have to increase the filter component like inductor and capacitor. Once if we increase the filter component, hello. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Question
Sir,
session.
yeah, we have 3 questions from the attendees, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Shall we wind up? Shall we wind up? Huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now we will go question answer session, sir.
Okay. You can. Okay. Okay. Ask one by one. Okay.
So,
you
sir,
read the question.
Yeah.
Yusuf, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, questions, sir.
Okay, sir. Sir, we have questions, sir. Already 3 questions has been posted, sir. I'll tell you
Okay.
one by one, sir. Please
Yeah,
answer
okay.
the question, sir.
Okay,
First
okay.
one, sir, from Kenvin K. How to manage voltage drop?
How to manage the
Voltage drop.
for what?
So
How
during
to manage
conversions.
during the
Conversion.
Okay. For example, every inductors and capacitor, every inductor and capacitor having an internal resistance. If you minimize this internal resistance, then automatically that voltage drop will be fall down. Okay. Next. Hello. This is as per the component point of view. Second one is like switching frequency. Normally, as per our requirement concern, suppose I want to increase the voltage because every devices they are maintaining some voltage drop. Every devices. So we have some minimum voltage drop, but component drop also there. Then whenever we are going to switch on and switch off, we have some drop. That is a switching loss. We can call it as a switching loss, switching voltage drop. But if you go for the snubber circuit, for example, as per the switch concern, if I want to, like, whenever I am going to switch on and switch off, we have a transient voltage test. But you can connect the snubber component across the devices. We can reduce the voltage test also. This is the one of the way. Then another thing is we can go for the soft switching technique on. As per the device concern, we can go for the zero voltage and the zero current switching. When you go for zero voltage and zero current switching, we can minimize the switching losses also. These are all the ways we are going to reduce the losses. Next. Next question.
Yes, sir. So next question is, what is the general difference between DC to DC converters and DC to AC converters? By Srinivasan Subramanian.
Yeah, DC converter convert the fixed DC to variable DC. Coming to the DC to AC converter, convert the DC to AC like inverter. Next.
Okay. So next question is, why does some batteries has more heat after charging? From Kevin Case.
That's why. For example, that depending on the charge control. For example, as per the battery concern, we have to provide the stabilized voltage. The most of the thing is we are doing the overcharging and the undercharging. So if you avoid this problem, because most of the now most of them they're using for charge control. Even though when you connect for renewable energy sources, if you exceed the limits of the ratings of charge controller, there are some problems happen for the battery. This is the one of the reason actually. If you have a normal or overcharging or undercharging, this is one of the problem for heating of battery. Other than that, I don't know.
Yes, sir. Next, one more question, sir. The last question from my side, sir. So when you talking about the soft switching, you said this can be done in zero voltage and zero current. By that, we can reduce the losses. So this will reduce the total loss of the system. So my doubt is, we all know that in AC power, there is already a zero crossing. During the time, we used to switch off or switch on. But in point of DC power, the load is connected. We are continuously supplying the DC to the load. At this time, if I want to switch off, how we make the power to come zero, sir? Before that, we have to...
No, actually, when you go for the soft switching technique, for example, you can take it as one single MOSFET. For a single ideal MOSFET, I have to convert it into like a zero voltage switch. The ideal MOSFET switch, I have to convert it into zero voltage switch. Then how to convert this normal switch into zero voltage switches? We have to add the tank component. Tank component in the sense means resonant component. I have to connect the capacitor, that is resonant capacitor across the switch. Then I have to connect the inductor in series with the switch. So whenever we are going to turn on and turn off, what will happen? These tank component forcing the voltage to zero during the on time and off time. That is the role of the tank component.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.